Hey, Jeremy Burgess, a Detroit market expert from Urban Detroit Wholesalers, and welcome to another episode of Detroit Investor TV. This is a continuation of, we'll call this part two, my series on international investors. So in the previous, I think it was 2 episodes past, I talked about asset protection, setting up your structure, and opening a bank account. Another common question I get is taxes. Tell me about the taxes. And the 2 questions I get on taxes is, what am I going to pay tax-wise in America, in Michigan, in the city of Detroit? And do I have to pay taxes where I live? I'm going to address the first one. That varies. It varies on how many write-offs you have that year. It varies on how much money you make. Generally speaking, though, since these are long-term investments and there are no short-term capital gains, you are going to be taxed somewhere between 10 and 15%. However, that's only on what you have left over after all your deductions, all your expenses. So you might bring in $10,000 in income, and after all your legitimate expenses, by the way, filing your taxes is one of them, direct expenses, some stuff you're going to have to amortize over a certain number of years, but I don't want to get into too many details on that. I'm not a CPA, but you get the write-off. We're going to say almost 99% of every expense you having go out that's legitimate. So you're only taxed on what you have left over. So let's say you have $6,000 left over after you paid all your expenses, $10,000. You're going to be taxed somewhere, generally speaking, between 10 and 15% on that. Not too bad. So if you just kind of, in your head go, okay, $1,000 a year for taxes, generally that's going to cover it. Obviously there's specific cases now and then. They could raise taxes, they could lower taxes. This is of right now, which is 2011, January. Next question. Are you going to have to pay taxes where you live? Well, tax law is complicated, and I'm not going to pretend to be an expert. But in general, yes, you are going to have to pay taxes where you live, especially if you lived in a socialized country. They want their money. They got programs that, as far as they're concerned, that was their money that you sent over, that now they want a piece of the action back. However, almost every single country has tax treaties. So that 10-15% that you're going to pay here, you don't have to pay again wherever you are. And depending on where you're at, they're going to tax it differently. So I'm not even going to get into it. You should know, like if you live in Australia or England or Ireland or wherever, you know what you're paying in taxes. What I'm saying is you won't have to pay tax twice, meaning they're going to allow you with that treaty to not pay that 10-15% again additionally. Now, some people ask me, an additional further question, a little deeper, is, well, when do I pay taxes on it? Can I let it sit in the bank account in America and I don't pay taxes until I pull it over? This also varies. Sometimes yes, sometimes no. Depends on your country. It's a very detailed tax question that I'm not going to go into. However, one thing I do know, you will pay taxes on it even if you come over here and you spend it, at some point in time, you will pay taxes on it. Taxes make the world go round. So there's no way to get away from taxes. Anybody who tells you set up a Nevada corporation so you don't have to pay state tax, that's a bunch of BS. They're lying to you. If you're conducting business in the state of Michigan, you are going to pay Michigan state business tax, period, end of report. There's no ways around it. So you can go through the expense and trouble of setting up a Nevada corporation and doing all that, and at the end of the day, you still have to pay taxes in the state of Michigan because your business was conducted in the state of Michigan. You cannot get around that. And eventually, whether you have to pay it that year or down the road when you transfer that money, when you got to pay taxes at home, yes, you are going to pay taxes on that. And find me a government that doesn't want their chunk, doesn't want a little piece of your pie, and I would be very surprised. But hopefully that clears up some of your tax questions that you may have had. If you have any additional ones, just don't make it too specific. I am not a CPA, and there's so many countries. I don't pretend to be an expert in tax law. I know enough, as they say, to be dangerous, and every country is different. But yes, you're going to get paid taxes. Keep that in your head. Those taxes aren't ever going to go away. Where you pay them now or you pay them later. You know, as we say, Uncle Sam's going to get paid, and whatever you say in your country, they want their cut too. This is Jeremy Burgess, the Detroit market expert from Urban Detroit Wholesalers, and thanks for tuning in for another episode of Detroit Investor TV. I really appreciate your attention. Also, if you have any feedback or questions, or there's something you want to hear about that I haven't already covered, please do make sure you watch all the other Detroit Investor TV episodes. Please leave a comment. Give me some feedback. I really do appreciate it. I love hearing from you guys, and as much as I try and think from your perspective, sometimes I miss things that might seem like it's an obvious question to me, but if I'm not from here, I just won't know. So let me know. Share. Thanks, guys.